Story 1. Women whose entire life and happiness revolve around travel and being on the road when they have a stable, if sedentary, job. Are there women who manage it well? Probably. But in my experience, the non-stop long distance has been a nightmare and has always resulted in many issues. Story 2. Talking about their past with zero accountability or their past relationships, framing it like every past guy was somehow abusive or a narcissist but still loves them, and they were the best thing that ever happened to them. That's exactly what they will do to you, and you will never hear the word sorry unless it's sorry you feel that way. Story 3. Someone overly spiritual. I'm pretty open-minded, so never say never, but when you are so spiritual that you're letting tarot cards or the spirits make decisions for you instead of using your own free will, then yeah, nah, I can't do it again. Story 4. Disney girls. It's like their lives revolve around the movies and television shows they watched as a child, and parts of their brains never grew past the age of 10. Story 5. If you leave, I will kill myself. I dated someone in high school who was like that. I was gaslit, had my entire friend group manipulated against me because she said I was verbally and physically abusive, and went through some intense mental anguish that left me severely depressed for years afterward. Eventually, I was so fed up that when she pulled that line out, I told her to just do it already. She didn't. I ran into her in college a few times, and each interaction only reassured me that leaving was the best thing I could have done because she was the same wreck she was when we were dating. I am happily married now to an absolutely amazing woman. Story 6. Trust fund baby. Lots of problems. Mostly mental because they are likely neglected or abandoned by their caregivers. Never understands the hardships of working, paying their own bills, and why you are tired as a regular hardworking person. Story 7. The one that needs constant attention. I shouldn't feel like I constantly need to entertain someone or be there 24/7. Plus, I know if she doesn't get attention from me, she'll get it from someone else. It's just another stress upon my life that I do not need. Story 8. Sorority girl. Fell for someone in college and got it back at first, but she was so concerned with her sorority that she flat out stopped making time for me, despite my best efforts. Maybe that is not as much of a problem in the post-college world, I sure hope. But man, that was frustrating. Effort is attractive. Story 9. Not that I officially dated someone like this, and this is not even a negative personality trait. But I've had situations with girls that I never pursued because they really were living their life to the fullest type of girls. Which sounds good, but the reality is every third day will be some sort of event. It will constantly be movies, trips, beach trips, hiking trips, then twice a year traveling overseas, not to mention the many small things like wanting to go grab a coffee by the beach and just hang out for 30 minutes. I just would never be able to keep up, and I am sure it would start feeling like I am holding her back. If I do some sort of outing or event, I will need 2 weeks at home to recharge. It would be torture for both of us. She would be miserable sitting at home, and I would be miserable being dragged everywhere. Story 10. Woman with anxious attachment. Whatever you do, it's never enough. Their anxious behavior always needs validation, looking for issues that are not there. It's always your fault, etc., etc. I do miss her, and in a way, still love her because she gave me everything I wanted, but being with her all the time is impossible. Story 11. Self-centered, controlling women, and ones who talk baby talk and think it's cute. I had a woman call me daddy. That was it, we were done. Totally creeped me out. Story 12. Influencers. I'm done. Never again. I'm not a jealous person by any means, but the amount of attention they were getting made me a bit insecure, and their self-entitlement was out of this world. Story 13. The influencer type. It's a mixture of everything that can make a woman difficult to deal with. Vain, attention seeker, entitled, provocative dresser, loves the nightlife, and so on. They're usually very attractive though, but never worth it. Story 14. Girl bosses. There's nothing wrong with wanting to go hard for your career, but don't belittle me and passive-aggressively resent me because I don't have, nor want, a master of business administration and don't want to climb a corporate ladder. I've dated several women like that, and they've always made me feel like a burdensome roach. And yes, I'm educated. I have a bachelor's degree and an applied diploma. I'm now contemplating a career change into trades in my late 30s. I'm not a useless lazy slob and I know what I'm worth. Story 15. I can't be afraid I will come home to a corpse. If she will not seek treatment, I cannot be there. I cannot be the force of will to keep two adults alive. Story 16. Any woman who thinks that the world or I owe her something for simply being female. I don't care if you are perfect looking, but I expect you to be a good person with good character and morals. Story 17. The lesbian type that pretends to be heterosexual to use you to get the child they always wanted. Then when they get the said child, make it impossible for you to live with them and be forced to pay child support for 18 years for a child you hardly ever see because they move 3 hours away. Story 18. The relationship girl. Don't get caught up in their attention or love. It's going to be a disaster. Everyone needs their own life, and everyone needs to know how to cope alone. There are important skills you learn from time by yourself. Everyone needs their own passions and interests. People reliant on others solely for their happiness are chaotic at best. Every single relationship girl I've met or come into contact with has been a nightmare. Story 19. Dated a coworker, breaking my own rule. I discovered shortly after we started dating that she had no filter and told her female friends about everything we did in the bedroom, along with descriptions of my anatomy. Unfortunately for me, she had many friends that I worked with on a daily basis. I asked her to stop, at which point she argued, "Women talk. You were just going to have to accept it." We broke up shortly after that. I will never break that rule again. Story 20. I think I would have to say divorced mothers who were stay-at-home mothers and never or barely entered the workforce. From my experience, they struggle to find an identity separate from their children. I love my son to the moon and back, but being his dad is not my only identity. Story 21. Dating someone with borderline personality disorder or narcissistic personality disorder. Never again. The stress it brings is insane. Also, someone very insecure, no thanks. They are likely to bring your well-being down with them. Story 22. E-girls and Hello Kitty girls. Memes aside, they will drain you like energy vampires. They're often attractive, but they're rarely stable. Story 23. Anyone that gets angry when they drink. I actually gave my ex-fiancée the nickname Blonde, which because of how she acted when she got drunk, especially wine drunk. Story 24. Women whose victimhood is their personality trait or who get their opinions strictly from social media because they have no one who can stand them long enough to make friends. Never again. Story 25. Girls who play games don't text back. Truly, I thought it was all women. Then, I dated a few older women who had their act together, and I was like, wow, there's no nonsense going on here. So I made sure to look for those traits in women my own age, 23 to 27 at the time before I married, since I knew better after those experiences. It's just the worst feeling to be dating a girl who says, "I don't know," when you ask if she likes you in a serious way, could commit to you or wants to go out that night. Story 26. Mine is a duopoly. Women who spend too much or too little time focused on appearances. Both are a signal for emotional issues that will make the relationship suffer in the long run. Story 27. Unfortunately, cause my type to happen, I think. Lowest common denominator and all. I like them still, but over time, my attitude has shifted from my type is crazy to, no wait, I'm the cause of the crazy. Story 28. Very insecure and depressed girls are a significant problem for the person affected, but I can assure you that it becomes mentally exhausting for the partner, especially if you are not willing to address your problems with a specialist. You have to constantly prove your loyalty and attraction for them, above the constant talking of their problems. And may God help you when it comes time for you to feel down and in need of their comprehension and support, as they are often incapable, and usually it initiates the rupture of the relationship because they don't have the mental strength to keep the relationship alive during bad times. To broaden the answer to more casual dating or initial flirts, I would say the ones that do excessive flattery, the ones that don't have hobbies, and the ones that define themselves as very empathetic have a high chance of ghosting you. Story 29. The "I have a rich dad and don't need to work" attitude put a strain on our relationship because she couldn't understand why I would choose to pick up more shifts and work more. Story 30. I don't have time for your shyness. Know what you want, be an adult. Have opinions that aren't just whatever you want is fine. I want a partner, not a pet. Story 31. A woman with borderline personality disorder. Married 1. It destroyed my life. Hopefully, I can make it out of the aftermath. I was a homeless heroin addict when I was younger, and that was a walk in the park compared to this. If someone has borderline personality disorder, run. Look it up. Every story is the same. These people are sick to a level most people couldn't imagine. And there is no treatment or getting better. All the medications are for other mental illnesses and usually make things worse. It's terrifying. Story 32. Women who are way too deep into feminism constantly obsess about gender norms, where every decision is made based on whether it's holding a door or watching movies and having to turn them off because it's too much. So exhausting. Story 33. The jealous one. I have no more patience for jealousy. I have several platonic female friends. I will keep my friends close. I'm not making that mistake ever again. Story 34. Girls with borderline personality disorder or similar, fun as hell. Most intense relationships I've ever had. Sex is amazing. Passion is amazing. All fun and games until it's not. Story 35. Pot smokers. I have nothing against weed or its consumption. I was with a girl who had a psychotic episode because of weed at one point. She got better after meeting me and decided to start smoking again a few months into the relationship. She became catatonic and virtually useless as a human being, scrolling Instagram all day, every day, and ordering Uber Eats and fast food every day instead of cooking or whatever. I was left with all the responsibilities, and I just couldn't keep up with everything. Story 36. You can call me shallow all you want, but I prefer women who are not athletic, not because of their size, but because of their personality. It's different if I was in a relationship with a woman who didn't start out like that, or if she did something like hiking and she just happens to be bigger. However, in my experience, plus-sized women have an anger issue that leads to violent behaviors, and I'm not about that lifestyle. Story 37. Partners that need to have unrestricted access to your personal devices whenever they want is often a sign of projection from some questionable decisions they have made in their life or unresolved trauma from past relationships. Story 38. Personally, Puerto Ricans. Nothing against them, and I obviously love them. I only dated 2, and their excuse for their bad, maniacal, entitled, neglectful, aggressive attitudes was, "This is what you get when you date a Puerto Rican woman." One wrecked my car like a bonus stage on Street Fighter, and the other deleted everything off my external hard drives that included movies, music, and pictures of family that I couldn't recover. That was enough for me to keep my distance. Story 39. Ones that try and joke around saying they want a sugar daddy so they no longer have to work. I've learned that they are not joking. They don't want to work anymore and want you to support them. Story 40. A few summers ago, I met a woman at a festival. We had such a great time. During that period, I also took drugs when we went out, but never on weekdays. One time, I went over to sleep at her place on a random Wednesday. I woke up in the middle of the night, and she was not next to me anymore. I got up to check where she was, and she was cleaning the house like a crazily obsessed woman. I saw on her face that she had taken something, and instantly it made my feelings for her disappear, so I broke up with her. After that, I heard from her best friend that she was an addict. Story 41. I had a couple of girls back in the day who were what I call twins. They were just like me. We thought the same, liked all the same things, and had the same sense of humor. At the time, I thought it was awesome. What a dream come true. What could go wrong? Never again. Turns out I don't really like myself all that much. Story 42. Women playing hard to catch. If you can't communicate consistently that you are interested in me as well and constantly brush me aside, but then complain to your friends why I won't give you any attention anymore, you can fool someone else. Story 43. 48-year-old woman who is still holding a place for her ex-husband by sleeping with other men, hoping to find him again or make him jealous. I fell in love with this woman, but as time went on, I finally realized I was just a placeholder and not the main piece I thought I was. Story 44. I've never dated, but I've talked to at least a couple of bisexual people, and they are the worst to start anything with. I'm confused, and I don't know what I want yet, or similar phrases are all too common. There is no dating, just aimlessly talking and not knowing if anything will ever take off. Story 45. The worst experience I had with a woman was one where she was using me for sexual validation. Her personality was really exhausting to me, so one day, I said forget it and blocked her. Story 46. The type that has trust issues, anxious attachment, a personality disorder, whatever it was. Everything I did was with the intention of hooking up with other women in her mind. It was the most stressful year of my life. Story 47. For context, I must state I have wanted a kid since I was 16. Now I'm 40. When I met my then-girlfriend's family, I was 30, and her daughter was 3. Her grandmother and grandfather, and her brother and sister-in-law are the reason I ended up falling out of love with the idea of being a parent. But even so, when I got married, we tried and tried but could not have kids. And I'm thankful because my wife shares the same traits that I despise in my in-laws. Now I'm saving up for a vasectomy.